Welcome to the Public Protection Licensing meeting of the 9th of March. Let's start with agenda item number 1, which is apologies for absence.
We've had apologies from Councillor Wright.
I'm just silencing my phone so it doesn't. Right, hopefully that works. No, so there's no other apologies, and just Councillor Wright. Okay, the minutes of the meeting held on the 15th of December. Is everybody happy to agree them as a correct record?
Yep.
Yeah, no dissenters. Okay, lovely, thank you very much. I will sign them when they send them to me. To receive declarations of interest. Any members, any declarations of interest? I would presume unless you're running a taxi firm, you wouldn't have, but no. Okay, thanks very much. And then the only item on the agenda item 4, review of the private hire operators conditions. Who's starting on this? Kirsty? Yeah, Kirsty, okay, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Yep, so this report is to consider updating our current private hire operator conditions in line with new statutory standards which have been published by the Department for Transport, and this is following a consultation with the trade. So a bit of background: under the Local Government Miscellaneous Provisions Act, the Council may attach conditions to the grant of private hire operator licences that they consider reasonably necessary. Now, the Vale of Glamorgan Council's current private hire operator conditions have been in place for many years, so now is thought to be a good time to review these conditions to bring them in line with the new statutory standards put forward by the Department for Transport. And you can find the current private hire operator conditions in Appendix A of your report. So what we've done is we've drafted a new set of conditions, which can be found in Appendix B of the report. So as the licensing authority, it's important that we are confident that operators that we license are fit and proper and do not pose a threat to public safety. And one way this can be achieved is by imposing conditions onto the licenses. So as mentioned, the DFT have recently published the statutory taxi and private hire vehicle standards, and the intention by them is that these are adopted by all local authorities as a minimum, unless there is compelling local reason not to. So the DFT advised that whilst the focus of the standards is on protecting children and vulnerable adults, all passengers will benefit from these new recommendations. They go on to say that the standards that they've set out have been from discussions with the trade, campaign groups, and there's definitely a consensus that common core minimum standards are required to better regulate the taxi and private hire sector. Now, these standards will continue to have an effect in Wales, even though the responsibility for taxi and private hire vehicle policy was devolved to the Welsh Assembly. However, in the future, should the Welsh Government introduce legislation which covers these issues, then the standards would cease to apply. So in response to all these standards, we've produced some new operator conditions, and with public safety at the forefront of the agenda. So these new proposed conditions cover the following elements: so general operating complaint system, driver and vehicle records, disclosure and barring service checks, notification of convictions, business premises, booking records, personal data, working hours, insurance, ride share, standards of service, and public service vehicles. And like I said, the proposed conditions can be found in Appendix B of the report. So we've been out to consultation on these proposed conditions. We consulted with private hire operators that are currently licensed by the Vale of Glamorgan, and we also consulted with the Vale Taxi Association. We received 2 responses, and they were both from current private hire operators. The first stated, "I've looked through the proposals and all seems okay." The second stated, "Enabling an enforced 30-minute break after 5.5 hours would require a tech change, which can take some time, so we would kindly request that plenty of notice is given before the condition comes into effect." So those were the responses that we received. So what we're recommending today is that we replace the current private hire conditions with the proposed conditions which you'll find in Appendix B. And that's to ensure that any conditions that we impose on private hire licenses represent these statutory standards introduced by the DfT. The second proposal is that we allow a grace period of 6 weeks for existing private hire operators in relation to compliance with the conditions. And that's to afford the existing private hire operators time to update their current procedures and, like the consultation response says, to do their own tech change. And that's it. Thank you, Chair. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Kirsty. Any members indicate if they wish to speak? Rachel.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say how impressed I am actually with this new additional list. Particularly pleased to see the DBS in place. It seems to be, it just seems to, improve quite rapidly. So just like to say and note that I welcome this additionality. It's great.
Any other members? Yep. Margaret. You're muted at the moment, Margaret.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm quite happy with this report. It's a good report, and if the taxi firms are not coming back except for 2 people, I should think they are. So I think we should just go with the recommendations, and I move those recommendations.
Before we actually decide, I got one question or what sort of clarification, but thanks for that, Margaret. The recommendation 2 to allow a grace period of 6 weeks for existing private hire operators in relation to compliance with the conditions. I just think that's a bit open in that basically it gives them a free for all for 6 weeks, and that we wouldn't really be able to do anything if they breached any of the conditions in that 6 weeks period. My reading of it is that the one thing which came back in the consultation was enabling the 30-minute break, which is paragraph 9.1. I'm just wondering if we need to be more specific in that recommendation rather than give it a free-for-all, to be specific to 9.1, or if there's anything else which Kirsty would have thought may lead to problems if it was introduced immediately. I don't know what other members think of that or what Richard thinks.
I suppose we could, Chair, keep the new policy because it will take effect today, but it will be under review in terms of enforcement for the next 6 weeks. So we make no categoric statement that we won't enforce, but we'll obviously be mindful of the nature of any breaches and the circumstances under which they arise.
So so I come to you in a minute, Pam, if I can just clarify. So, Richard, are you suggesting that we don't have recommendation 2 at all, or?
I think that would be sensible, and then we've not tied our. Sorry, I apologise for that. We've not tied ourselves to it one way or another, and we can obviously take a sensible approach in relation to any.
Well, that's the way I would have hoped that it would work. Pam, are you got a comment on this or something?
I was just going to comment on that because it's slightly different than what it says in the Working Time Directive of 1998, where you can work up to 6 hours, but then you have to have a 20-minute break. But it has to be in the working time rather than before or after. So does slightly differ to that.
But the only thing I'd say, Margaret, that the Working Time Directive is to protect the would be to protect the drivers then, or the whereas what we're looking at is protection of the public here, isn't it? So
yes.
It wouldn't nullify the Working Time Directive by us putting this this condition in. I wouldn't have thought, would it?
No, I agree with it, but I was just
it's in addition to, isn't it? So are members happy then if Margaret has moved the recommendations, if we only move recommendation 1?
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that, John. I'll
Jane?
go. Yeah,
Okay, Jane. You're seconding it, you, Jane? Yeah, we did. Okay, we got a proposal and seconder. So is everybody in favour?
Yes.
I think what we ask I think our officers will understand what we're meaning with recommendation 2, and that they bear that in mind with any action that they need to take against any operators. But things which are already in place and that we're already expected to do, I'm sure we expect them to continue doing anyway. And the additional things, then we won't enforce until probably the 6-week period. But we don't want to tie our hands behind the back. So thank you very much for that. It's been moved, it's been seconded, and everybody is in agreement. So
Right.
thank you. I have nothing under agenda item 5 and nothing under agenda item 6. So I will declare this meeting closed. And now we got